Professor Vishwanath Rao for having made it to this function, having come all the way from Kakinada. We are grateful to you, sir. Next we pass on to the next paper, Upanishads in Daily Life by Sri V. Subramanian. Sri V. Subramanian was born in 1956 in Bangalore and graduated in Commerce and worked for Reserve Bank of India till 95. He was taught Advaita Vedanta by a Jivan Mukta Acharya, Professor D.S. Subramaya, who taught quantum physics in Central College, who was a direct student of C.V. Raman on the one hand and Chandrasekhara Bharati Mahaswamigal on the other. On having learned under a master of that caliber, you know what an amount of Vedantic feeling it can generate and infuse. Sri Subramanian, who calls himself as Subbu, and he, having learned traditionally for more than a decade under such a great master, is here, who is a practicing sadhaka. Even now, he resigned from Reserve Bank job. Could you ever imagine this? In such a short age, quite some time ago, more than a decade ago, he resigned from Reserve Bank officer's post and dedicated himself to sadhana strictly from Advaitic point of view. Even now, he teaches many deserving students at home, and with these few remarks, I request Sri Subramanian to shed light on Upanishads in Daily Life. Subramanian.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namasabhaye Namasabhabhyah. I am here before you to share some of my thoughts on the message of the Upanishads, which are relevant to the daily life of we humans. I am straight away going to the Taittiriya Upanishad, which is very, very familiar to all of us. And there occurs this a sort of a sermon which can be called a convocation address when a student is leaving the Gurukulam after having spent a long time under the Guru learning the Vedas. The Guru is sending him off, who is now taking off to a social life. He is going to be a man in the world of his own. So the Guru is instructing him how he should conduct himself in the world. So he says, first, as many of our scholars have said this before, Satyam Vada, because that is the basic value that a person has to build himself with. Because if he gives up this value, he ceases to be a person himself. So the Guru says first, Satyam Vada, speak the truth. Then he says, this Satyam is not by itself. It has to be supplemented by another great value, which is Dharmam Chara, that is practice virtue. With this, the Guru doesn't stop. He gives a long list of do's and don'ts also there. He says, Swadhyayan ma pramadaha, do not neglect your daily study. Then he says, this student has lived in this Gurukulam for a long time, and he has to express his gratitude to the Guru. So that also the Upanishad teaches what kind of gratitude it should be. It says, offer to the teacher whatever pleases him. So Acharyaya Priyandhanam Ahritya Prajatantum Ma Vyavachetsi. That is, the Upanishad is taking care that the society goes on and on. That is, it perpetuates virtue and value through these representatives, which the student has become now. He is graduating from this institution. He is going to be a man of himself, and he is going to live these virtues, and he is going to beget progeny, which also will be continuing this virtue. So the society is not going to be bereft of this virtue at all. So he says, Prajatantum ma vyavachetsi. Then he says, again he repeats, Satyanna Pramaditavyam. He has already said that speak the truth, but then he emphasizes Satyanna Pramaditavyam, do not swear from truth. Then he says again, Dharmanna Pramaditavyam, do not swear from truth. Then he says, Kushalanna Pramaditavyam, do not neglect your own welfare. One has to take care of one's personal needs and see to it that one is not in need to seek others' help to even meet one's own bare necessities. So he has to stand on himself, but then he has to be a person who is a giver also. So that is going to come later. So bhutyaina pramaditavyam, he says, the teacher says, do not neglect prosperity. The acts aimed at bringing prosperity have to be performed without neglect. Then he again repeats this Swadhyaya thing, Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. Do not neglect study and teaching. This is given great importance since the primary goal of man is to seek knowledge of the self. To this end is the study of scriptural works and contemplation on their meaning and assimilation of their central teaching. Also is important the sharing of this knowledge with others. As one teaches, one's own knowledge gets strengthened. Others are benefited too. Thus the teaching learning process is kept alive. Then this is actually amplified by this very Upanishad in another section. It goes on to say like this. Ritancha swadhyaya pravachane satyancha swadhyaya pravachane tapascha swadhyaya pravachane damascha swadhyaya pravachane shamascha swadhyaya pravachane agnayascha swadhyaya pravachane agnihotrancha swadhyaya pravachane atithayascha swadhyaya pravachane and so on. The gist of this is whatever stage of life one might be in, whatever could be one's immediate duty, one should never give up the practice of study and teaching. Such is the importance accorded to this function by the Upanishads. Then the teacher goes on to give another very, very important value. Deva Pitar Karyabhyam na pramaditavyam. Do not neglect your duty to the gods and ancestors. Then he says, he actually, the teacher himself amplifies this. Matru Devo Bhava, regard the mother as your God. Pitar Devo Bhava, regard the father as your God. Acharya Devo Bhava, regard the teacher as your God. Atithi Devo Bhava, regard the guest as your God. Parents are living gods that we encounter in our daily life. They may not live forever, yet their role in shaping our lives is immense. Regarding them with all reverence is our bounden duty. The teacher is another important individual in our evolution. The role of the teacher is greatly glorified in our scriptural literature. The teacher is the one that leads the pupil by the hand to the superior goals of life. Then the Acharya comes to give practical tips as to how he should conduct in life in various situations. He says, Yan Yanavadyani Karmani Tani Sevitavyani. Because this student has lived in the Gurukulam, taking the Acharya as his role model for such a long time, the Acharya is very, very cautious in telling the student what he should imbibe from the Acharya and what he should not imbibe from the Acharya. He says, whatever deeds are blameless, they are to be practiced, no itarani, not the others. Yani asmakagam sucharitani, whatever good practices are among us, Tani se toyopasyani, no itarani, they are to be adopted by you and not others. A fine teaching to be kept in mind while trying to model ourselves on the lines of those persons whom we admire. There might be some mannerisms, some habits, etc. in the teacher that may not be conducive to ideal living. So the teacher, so humbly, so openly, he even cautions the student on this ground. Then he says, how do we conduct ourselves in various situations? He gives one example. Ekecha asmagumso brahmanaha, whenever they are superior to us, whomever we come across who are superior to us, we have to honor them with due protocol. He says, Tesham tvaya asanena prashasitaviyam. They should be honored by you by offering a seat. Shraddhaya deyam. They should be given whatever you want to give them with great faith. Then ashraddhaya adeyam. Don't give them without the necessary faith. Then Shriya deyam, give in plenty. Hriya deyam, give in with modesty. Bhiya deyam, give with awe. Samvida deyam, give with sympathy. Atha yaditve karma vichikitsava, then vritta vichikitsava syat. He says, whenever there is a conflict that is troubling you as to a particular conduct in life, then what do? How do you seek a solution for this? For that he says, whoever is going to be in your vicinity, in your neighborhood, whom you consider to be great, whom you consider to be some people who are leading the walking the path of virtue, you go to them, seek some advice from them, or do as what they do. Etatra Brahmanaha Sammarsinaha, as the Brahmins who are competent to judge, Yukta Ayuktaha, those people are not governed by others. They have got their values, they have got their positive ego, they don't bend before others for unnecessary things. So those are the people who are to be consulted. Yukta Ayuktaha, adept in duty, not led by others. Aluksha Dharmakamasyuhu, they are not harsh, they are not led by passion. Yathate Tatra Varteran, in the manner they would behave, Tatha Tatra Vartetaha, thus you should behave. Then there is a situation where there is an important person whom we have considered important, but then suddenly that person has fallen in the society. Then we are a little puzzled how we are going to conduct with that person in future, because everybody knows that this person has fallen, and how we are going to conduct with them. So for that also there is a solution. He says these people who are virtuous people in society, how they behave with that particular person, you also should follow that particular. So that is the kind of lead. These people give a lead to how they look upon this person who has now fallen in society. So that is this kind of guidance he gets, this new student gets from society. So that is also being intimated by the Acharya. Then he slightly concludes this Upadesha here. He says, Yesha Adeshaha, this is the command. Yesha Upadeshaha, this is the teaching. Yesha Vedopanishad, this is the secret document of the doctrine of the Veda. Etad Anushasanam, this is the instruction, he says. Evam Upasitavyam, thus should one worship. Then this Upanishad itself goes on to give some more teachings which are also very, very practical in our life. One of this is Annamna Nindyat Tad Vratam. Do not censure or despise food. Whatever food is coming to us by Prarabdha or given by God, that should not be despised by us. That should be taken as a gift from God and assimilated by us, wanted to be given back to the society in the proper way. Then he says, Na kanchana vasato pratyachakshita. Do not refuse shelter to the guest. Yaya kayacha vidhaya bhakvannam prapniyat. So when a guest comes, when you have to host a lot of people, you have to have a lot of food also with you. So the Upanishad says you have to always see to it that you always have a good stock of food. Yaya kayacha vidhaya bhakvannam prapniyat, it says. Then after some of the salient teachings of the Taittiriya Upanishad, I am passing on to the Kathopanishad, where also there are some very, very great gems of teaching which are very, very essential for our daily life. Here the story starts like this. Nachiketas is a small boy who is watching his father doing a yaga, where the father is giving away some useless cows as dhanam. So this boy goes and asks his father, you are giving this kind of cows as dhanam, to whom are you going to give me away? So the father is not getting the clue of this boy's question. So he is simply ignoring the boy. The boy persists with his question. Then the father says, I am going to give you to Yama. So the boy is very, very puzzled really, because the father in normal situation, he would not be saying this kind of word. But then now the boy takes it seriously and then tells his father, now okay, you have told me that you are going to send me to Yama. Okay, now I am going. Then the father realizes that he should not have said this. So he is in a kind of a fix. So the boy comes to his father's rescue and tells his father, he gives a sort of sermon to his father. Anupashya yatha purve pratipashya tatha pare sasyamiva martyaha pachyate sasyamiva ajayate punaha. Nachiketas says he consoles his father who has blurted in haste that he will be sending his son to Yama. But soon after, the father who has realized this, he is in a fix now. So the boy is in a kind of a consoling mode now. He says, recall to mind the conduct of your ancestors. Their ways have to be followed by you as well. Also see how noble-minded of the present times behave. They too are worthy of emulating. In all of their dealings, one can never find contemptible behavior. It is only the ignoble that behave contrary to the adorable ones. One can never hope to attain immortality by disgraceful conduct. Mortal man dies and is born again, even as plants die and sprout. Return to this world of mortals is no praiseworthy endeavor. So go ahead and stick to your words. Send me to the abode of Yama, the Lord of Death. Then the father has no other go now. He has to give his accord to his son. So Nachiketas virtually delivers a sermon to his father, and now he goes to the abode of Yama. And then when he goes to the abode of Yama, Nachiketas is not an ordinary boy. He is going there with some very, very deep question, which is a question which is the central point of all the Upanishads, that is Atma Vidya. He is going to ask that. But then Yama is not going to, not a ordinary teacher. He is going to test this Nachiketas on various grounds before he delivers that Atma Vidya to him. But then before that, there are some very, very valuable things which are coming out as some byproducts from this Upanishad. We will see one or two of them here. Nachiketas, after finding that Yama was away, when he goes to Yama's abode, Yama has gone on his circuit. Everybody knows what work Yama does. So Yama is not in his house. So Nachiketas doesn't enter the house. He stays outside the house for 3 full days till Yama returns. So even though Yama's household, Yama is a person who is having a family, he has got a household there, but then the people might have asked him to come inside, but then he doesn't go. He has got a principle of his own, the small boy of some 7 or 8 years old. This shows that he without food or without any shelter, he has been living outside the house for 3 full days. So he's displaying actually a kind of a quality which is called titiksha, which is necessary for the Atma Vidya. So Yama, when he comes, he knows all these things, but then before that, before giving the Atma Vidya, he is going to put him to further some tough tests also. But then here we get a very nice lesson here. Nachiketas was actually observing the custom of a male not entering and staying in another's house if the man of the house was away. Eventually, Yama returned from his circuit. Reporting Nachiketas' arrival and waiting, Yama's household gives him a piece of advice on what is to be done to welcome Nachiketas. Vaishvanara pravishati atithir brahmano grihan tasyaitam shantim kurvanti hara vaivasvato udakam. So, verily, like fire, a Brahmin guest enters a house, the householder pacifies him by giving him water and seat. Bring him water, O king of death, says Yama's wife or daughter or somebody there. So, when a Brahmin guest arrives at a house, it is verily God of fire, that is Vaishvanara, that comes in his form. The idea is this: the Brahmin who has a lot of power born of austerity, tapas, is capable of bringing prosperity or destruction to the house where he enters. It is therefore incumbent upon those who receive him to pacify him by appropriate protocol. He is given water for washing his feet, offered a seat of honor, etc. This is the method of noble householders in respect of a Brahmin guest. Therefore, remind the people of Yama's household that he, Yama, who is being a householder, fetch water to conduct the Brahmin guest Nachiketas into the house with due honor. In case there is a lapse in this, or such a protocol is ignored, the scripture warns of accrual of sin for the householder. What befalls such an errant householder? In reply comes the next mantra. Asha pratikshe sangatam sundritancha ishta purte putra pashunscha sarvan etadvante purushasya alpamedasaha yasya anashnan vasati brahmano grihe. The Brahmin who dwells in a house fasting destroys that foolish householder's hopes and expectations. The reward of his intercourse with pious people, the merit of his kindly speech, the good results of his sacrifices and beneficial deeds, and his cattle and children as well. What is hope? We have to know the Upanishad uses 2 words, asha and pratiksha. So let us distinguish between hope and expectation. Hope is a wish for desirable thing which is attainable yet unknown about its occurrence. For example, a mother hopes that her son who has gone to the war front will return someday. Then what is expectation? It is an informed waiting for an event that is well known to happen. For example, I wait in the platform for the arrival of a particular train by which somebody known to me is traveling. So what accrues to one who has a good rapport with pious people? One becomes convinced of taking to the path of virtue. A whole lot of opportunities to tread this virtuous path open up. Newer connections with like-minded people and teachers are formed. What is the merit derived from kindly speech? This is what is conveyed by the word Sundrita Vak. So here he says, here we get a reply for this from the scriptures. It is well known that when we use pleasant words, the hearer is pleased and our purpose stands easily served. Constant use of pleasant words as a practice, as a habit, brings forth great benefits in one's life. Then comes the next mantra where Yama offers 3 boons to Nachiketas, 3 counting for each day of Nachiketas staying outside the house. So, Tisro Ratrihi Yadavasihi Griheme Anashnan Brahman Atitihi Namasyaha Namastestu Brahman Swastime Astu Tasmat Prati Trin Varan Vrinishwar. Yama said, O Brahmana, this boy, small boy, he is addressing Brahmana, since you have stayed in my house as a guest for 3 nights without eating anything, you are adorable, worthy of worship. Salutations to you, O Brahmana. Let all auspicious things accrue to me. How will any good accrue to me? With your grace, let the fault owing to the lapse of seeing you stay here without food for 3 days be averted. Thereby will good accrue to me. There is no doubt that due to your grace all good will ensue to me. Yet in order that you will be all the more propitiated, I wish to offer you 3 boons, one in return for each night you have stayed in my house without food. Ask for any particular 3 things that you desire. Now, even though Yama, we should look at Yama's character here. Even though Yama is a Jnani, because in the Upanishads, whoever is giving the Atma Vidya, he himself is a realized soul. The Upanishad says in the Mundaka Upanishad, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. A person who is desire of this Atma Vidya has to seek a guru who is a Shrotriya and Brahmanishta. So he has to have both the qualifications. He has to be a Shrotriya because when he teaches, he has to give the essence of the Upanishads, which is the Shastra. So he has to be a Shrotriya. Then he has to be a Brahmanishta himself because he must show to the student that he is a person who has practiced it and who is a living Jnani and whose words will only carry weight. So here Yama is a Jnani and occupies a very important position in the cosmic administration, being the Lord of Death. Yet out of humility he bends down to wash the feet of Nachiketas, a small boy from the planet Earth. And also he offers Nachiketas boons. Yama, being a Jnani and a celestial, need not have expressed his fear of misfortune befalling him and his people due to the lapse of not immediately attending to a Brahmana guest. Yet Yama, as an adherent of Dharma, the code of righteous conduct, behaves in such a way that this act becomes a model to others to follow. This is representative of the ways of a dharmic person. The concern for another's welfare is a trait that is very important in a dutiful man. It is such lofty ideas and ideals that strengthen the fabric of dharma in a society. A dharmic society is an ideal place for practice of spiritual sadhana. Even if one is not spiritually inclined, still artha, wealth and kama desire, when based on dharma, confers great good on that society. Now Nachiketas replies, he is being given 3 boons, and he could have chosen anything at his will, but then he actually prioritizes. He first asks for the welfare of his father, so that is his priority. First he says, Shanta Sankalpaha Sumana Yatha Syat Vita Manyuhu Gautamo Mabhi Mrityo Tvat Prasrishtam Ma Abhivadet Pratita Etat Trayanam Pratamam Varam Vane, he says. Nachiketa specifies his first wish. My father must be feeling remorseful for having sent me away to Yama's board. He must be thinking, what indeed will my son be doing in Yama's place? He must be freed of this anxiety about me. Also, he must become a man of calm mind. Any anger he has been harboring for me should be dispelled. O Lord of Death, when I return to my father after being released by you, he must recognize me as this is really my son who has now returned and converse with me. Now, after Nachiketas has given his first wish, then we shift on to the final wish he is asking, that is Atma Vidya. So, before giving this Atma Vidya, Yama is actually tempting Nachiketas with lot of worldly desires and worldly objects and all that. So one reply of Nachiketas, which is very very noteworthy and which is very extremely valuable for every person to practice in life. He says, when Yama offers these things, he says, Shvobhavaha Martyasya yat antaka etat sarvendriyanam jarayanti tejaha api sarvam jivitam alpameva tavaiva vahaha tava nritya gite. Nachiketa simply spurns all overtures of Yama. He sees through the enticement. His viveka is so strong that he has no difficulty in applying it to the various allurements Yama is holding out. I shall just give a list of what Yama holds out. He says, whatever desires are difficult to satisfy in this world of mortals, choose them as you wish. These fair maidens, with their chariots and musical instruments, men of this world cannot obtain them. I give them to you and they shall wait upon you, but do not ask me about death, he says. So these are the things which Nachiketas spurns. So the purpose of Yama in alluring Nachiketas with all these attractions is to test the latter's commitment to the seeking of self-knowledge. So this also is one value we are getting here. And this commitment is marked by Nachiketas' willingness to give up everything else that comes in the way of attaining self-knowledge. So we see Nachiketa saying, these are the things which are not going to remain even for tomorrow. So he says, Nachiketa reasons, what you, Yama, have offered are not certain of remaining in existence even tomorrow. Further, these enjoyments, when indulged in, will only weaken the power of the sense and motor organs of man. They ultimately bring all effects that are detrimental to Jiva who applies himself in their enjoyment. For they diminish dharma, virtue, viryam, strength, prajna, intelligence, tejas, energy, yashas, fame, etc. Also, the long life that you intend offering me, listen what it amounts to. The long life of even Brahma, the four-faced Brahma, the Lord of creation, is short indeed. When this is so, what to say about the life of mortals like me? In the light of all this, it is only wise on my part to refrain from accepting all the extraordinary gifts that you make. Keep to yourself the divine vehicles and let the dances and songs remain with you. So says Nachiketas, expressing his worth, his quality. Then we turn to another very important teaching which from this Upanishad itself. Here, this Upanishad is giving a kind of a chariot imagery. It is called Ratha Kalpana. It says, Atmanam Ratinam Vidhi, Shariram Rathamevatu, Buddhim tu Sarathim Vidhi, Manah Pragrahamevacha, Indriyani Hayanahu, Vishayansteshu Gocharan, Atmendri Manoyuktam Bhoktet Yahur Manishanaha. I'll just summarize this. Know the Atman to be master of this chariot, the body, the chariot, the intellect, the charioteer, and the mind, the reins. The simile of the chariot is taken up here to describe the aspirant with a variety of equipment. This is in the form of the mind-body complex. As to what this complex is described in this mantra. In an earlier mantra, the jiva was stated to be engaged in experiencing the fruit of karma. He was called bhokta. Then this mantra says, the senses, they say, are the horses, the objects, the roads. The wise call the Atman united with the body and senses as the enjoyer. Then the chariot imagery goes on further and says, which kind of charioteer, which kind of owner of chariot will actually reach his goal and which one will fall from the goal. It says, Yastu avijnanavan bhavati ayuktena manasa sada tasya indriyani avashyani duštashva ita saratehe. Duštashva iva saratehe. If the buddhi, being related to a mind that is always distracted, loses its discriminations, then the senses become uncontrolled like the vicious horses of a charioteer. The role of the driver of the chariot is highlighted to bring to the force the importance of the role of the buddhi, intellect, in a person's life journey. In case the intellect is not well informed about the goal, the means to attain the goal, the readiness of the person in engaging himself in such an endeavor, etc., there is not much that can be achieved by way of progress in the journey. On the contrary, it is very likely that one regresses much to one's chagrin. Two aspects gain importance here, pravritti and nivritti. So these can be translated as action and withdrawal of renunciation respectively. When there is a reasonable need for engaging in action, one should be able to do so without hitches. And when there arises a stage when one has to withdraw from action, even this should be possible without obstacles. So the mind-body senses apparatus must be called into service in both these endeavors, whether it is action or withdrawal. So this is one important teaching which this chariot imagery gives. Then there is one last piece, I will just touch upon this and close this talk. Yastu vijnanavan bhavati yuktena manasasaha tasyendriyani vashyani sadashva iva saratehe. If the buddhi, being related to a mind that is always restrained, possesses discrimination, then the senses come under control like the good horses of a charioteer. It is most beneficial to be endowed with a discriminative intellect coupled with a controlled mind. So this need not be a teaching which is particularly applied for Atma Vidya. Anybody who is engaged in any kind of achieving a goal in worldly life, this is relevant for him. So the senses in the service of such a person behave well, doing the bidding of the person and not indulging in their own whims and fancies. A chariot enjoys a fine drive only when the driver is informed, the reins are in his hands, and the horses behave well. All misery we encounter in the world is brought on oneself owing to the wrong application of the apparatus in hand. Indiscriminate operation of the intellect, the mind and the senses spells doom, and the result is there for everyone to see. On the contrary, a careful disposal of this great power in the apparatus brings lasting joy. So either in the field of worldly endeavor or in the spiritual plane of self-realization, the importance of a favorable apparatus what the Upanishad stresses. So I just mentioned one more thing from another Upanishad, that is, I'm not going to go into detail. For example, in the Mundaka Upanishad, there is one teaching, Tad Vijnanartham sa Gurumeva Abhigachet Samitpanihi Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. So whatever knowledge we are seeking, we have to go and seek it with humility. So that this is one teaching it gives. And in the Chandogya Upanishad it says, Acharyavan Purusho Veda, a person who is endowed with an Acharya, he alone knows. Then there in that Upanishad itself, there is one story of Indra, Virochana and Prajapati, where Prajapati giving instruction of this Vidya to Indra and Virochana, who are his sons only. Though in that Upanishad, the message is one should persist in the quest for right knowledge without any hurdles. That is, there will be hurdles, lot of hurdles, but one should persist in getting. Indra does that. Virochana leaves that off. So that is the kind of message it gives. Then in the Kenopanishad also, there is a good message which says one should not be arrogant about victory. There is a good story there, but then I'm not going to go into this because time is now ending now. So I thank the organizers of this great function and for having given me the opportunity to come and share with you all some of my thoughts. Thank you. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.